All right, we are live. Greetings and welcome back once again. 2 times in one day. It has cleared up, but I'm here again. All praise be to the Most High, the Holy One. This is Amuni Israel coming back again. For I ain't even gonna say it's gonna be quick because I don't really know if it's gonna be quick, right? I just collected some data, whoopee, and I wanted to share it. So greetings and welcome. I'm just gonna set up a little bit are, quote, African/Caribbean immigrants trying to steal ADOS benefits. And I'm not obsessing, but I do tend to do some research, in my downtime. You know what I'm saying? And anywho, um, today was one of those days after I came off. I tend to listen back to some of the things that I said, make sure I didn't do any misleading or anything like that. And then I came across a video that was released yesterday. It's called Why So-Called Black Immigrants Must Be Excluded. That's the name of the video. So it was like 36 minutes. So I was like, yeah, I'll let it play while I'm doing my little research on the computer door, right? And so I'm watching this thing and I'm like, wait, hold up. Once again, you know what I mean? Let me fact check some of what's being said. And so apparently it looks as though the video was uploaded before, and I put the link to the video in the box. But for all intents and purposes, what I am going to do is share my screen so I can take you on a little trip here to some of what is going on. Hold up, hold up, hold up. Wait a minute. Hold up. Wait a minute. Hold up. So welcome back once again. Okay. 1914. So let's go to 1914. Let me share my screen. Let me close the unnecessaries. Okay, it's a video that's having like clips of little things here and there. So let me back up here. Okay. And so let me share my screen. Hopefully you guys are learning something and growing from some of this information. Again, we're all welcome to the discussion. That's not what I'm not about all that extracurricular stuff here, but you will get pushed back if it sounds like there's a lot of rhetoric being spewed, unsubstantiated claims or skewed facts, because ultimately at the core of it, I'm a truth seeker. Okay. That's in all aspects of my life. So, okay, this is like you can, I put the link in the box, so please watch the video. In between the clips are the author of the video's thoughts. Okay. And so, okay, hold on. So there's some stuff that he's saying, and the discussion has made. He's talking about so-called Black immigrants coming to America to understand our cause and our plight. Speaking of melanated people on the mainland, and he's talking about the discussion making some Caribbean immigrants. I know I noted 19, but I'm just prefacing it a little bit, making some Caribbean immigrants uneasy, as he's saying. Okay, let me go back. First of all, in the past, Caribbean immigrants used to assimilate into our group, and we were the ones helping them in this country. There's a lot of statements being made, right? I come with what they say receipts. So if I'm making a statement, you almost guarantee I'm gonna give you the source, right? And in context and in its fullness, so you can go and check it out yourself. So there's commentary and then there's presentation, not trying to tell the person what to think, but giving them the information that you came across that you're able to form your thoughts on. So in this particular narrative, the narrative is that melanated people in America were the ones that were helping Caribbean immigrants to assimilate into our group, is what it's saying. Okay. Let me go forward here. Then it goes over Caribbean associations in America. So you can't hear it, but you can see it. That he's highlighting the fact that they're Caribbean associations. It says, so don't let this man fool you, because he won't tell you that Haitians also have their own exclusive group and we are excluded. And so he has he has Haitian American Democratic Club, so he's showing you their meetings, right, of Haitians coming together. He's also showing you meetings of other organizations coming together, right, and having events. And so the thought process is why this is also a Caribbean, what's this here? Jamaican American. So I don't want to be skipping before I get to the point, right? So this is his supportive evidence that this is a Jamaican, I think. What's this here? Hold on. Wait, let me back up. I don't want to miss anything. Haitians are not alone. All Black immigrants separate from us and create their own group and defend their own interests, is what he's saying. Jamaican American Bar Association. This is 2010, right? So the thought is, and the question that we're asking is, what is being presented for some ADOS is, or descendants of slavery in America, is that that African and Caribbean immigrants are trying to usurp your authority to a certain degree and benefit from things that they didn't invest in. Now, already I've shown in many other videos, I'm not going to go over all that, that's not completely true, right? About the whole not contributing thing. I'm not going to go there for the purposes of this video. And it says, but as you can see, you have Pan-Africanists that caping for so-called Black immigrants without realizing they come over here to replace us. So it's a kind of, you know, aggressive stance. Like, you're coming for me. This is what I'm receiving. So let me jump to the part. Then there's another thought that, and these Black immigrants love to jump in and out of the Black community whenever it's convenient. Hold on. Now let me go here to the part I wanted to go. Then there's an assertion that they're African elite, right? There's a lot of assertions. There's a lot of assertions that can definitely be cleared up with some facts, right? Something to, let's see what he's saying is unfair here. And when they come over here, they're classified as, I want to address this. This is what I want to address. When they come over here, they're classified as quote unquote Black Americans, and they compete against us to have access to our benefits, right? This is not the first time I'm hearing this conversation. So let's go to 19. This is an elder man speaking about his experience. So definitely listen to it. And then here we go. Hold on. So y'all know I'm gonna come with some receipts, just not those kind of receipts, but you know, hold on. Okay, right now in the United States classifies Black Americans and Black immigrants in the same group. That's why this issue needs to be addressed. And for many, that's why ADOS needs to be established as an ethnic, as a designation, because other people are trying to come in and they want to assimilate and pretend to be ADOS and pretend to have been in a struggle to steal benefits. Like, this is the narrative that's being painted. Okay? And we're going to see whether or not it's all the way 100% true, because we have people within the so-called Black community who try to claim that Black immigrants and Native Americans are the same. All right, so we started there. Hold on. And he goes on. Boom. And then the thought is that so-called Black immigrants are becoming a problem for Native. So this is a lot going on right here. This is a absolute lot. So when we talk about divisiveness and then people say no, yeah. It also says the quote Black community has become cohesive for 400 years. I'm not sure what that means right there, but Black immigrants are changing the identity of Black Americans. Okay. I'm just reading his thoughts, and then he puts clips in between. And this I found interesting. This is in response to this discussion group here. And then he's saying that they call us, quote, lazy. They call us privileged. They call us akatas. They call us slaves. They disrespect our culture and our history. And then he says, what I've learned is that Black immigrants seem to have a strong sense of jealousy toward us, and I don't understand why. This is what we're trying to get to the bottom of, right? With a historical lens to look at this relationship, and is it solely based on the fact that one doesn't like the other, or has this been a power play, so to say, and a tool, a means by which to divide similar people who came from the same place? I'll continue though. I'll continue. And then I'm going to get into what we found, eh? Okay. Then he says, personally, I prefer to kick all African immigrants out of our community now because we will never get along with these people. Okay. Wait, I got a few more to read. Hold on. Then concerning a clip, he says, I don't have a multicultural identity. I only have one culture and one community. I don't want to celebrate foreign Black cultures. If you want to celebrate the origin of your foreign mother or father, it's better for you to leave the Black community. So at this point, he's speaking for the entire community. And feel free to let us know if you disagree. And then he says, after he makes his point, at the end, he says, that's why we must, and I'm assuming, it says Black patriarch, so I'm assuming it's a male. If I'm wrong, please forgive. It says that's why we must change our classification in the census to make sure that these people cannot be included in our group. This is what I'm going to address today. The classification in the census, whether or not melanated people from the continent and the Caribbean are trying to usurp the authority and steal the benefits. This is what we're going to look at, okay? And the census classification. I've said it before, and now I'm going to say it again. And he says, because if we don't do it now, in the near future, Black immigrants will replace us everywhere. So this is a bit of fear being driven into the thoughts and the minds of people, that if we don't vote for this thing, if we don't do ADOS, if we don't do all of these things, then they're going to take over and they're coming for us X, Y, and Z, okay? Hold on. I'm going to release my screen so I can pull up the stuff that I'm looking for, and then I'm going to give you back my screen. So in the box below, you can feel free to read along. You can good evening, everybody. Judy, good evening from London. Welcome. I'm going to read some things in the box. For those who may be new and don't know the approach of this channel, I'm going to let you know in a little bit, but I don't want to belabor the point. Yeah, there's a lot of generalizations. Then this is what I speak to. This is why I go so much into the history, because there's a lot of sweeping generalizations that gives us a messed up view of actually what's happening, right? So I'm going to pull up some stuff right now. So I showed you what made me say, you know what? Okay, I've been talking about this particular aspect, and so let me share it, shall I? And as always, I give you the links. So the thought is they're coming, they want our stuff, and they have their own stuff, but they don't want us to have our own stuff. And people don't understand that it's not necessarily the need to properly identify oneself. It's the other stuff, the other unnecessary stuff that comes along with it, not only amongst oneself, but into the greater population, to paint these narratives as though they're 100% true. I'll tell you something before I share back my screen. When we were in college, they have the quote unquote Black student union, right? In the college I attended, they had the Caribbean cultural exchange. And then these are the student clubs. And then they had Club Haiti. And even in that, in the quote unquote Black student union, the Caribbean cultural exchange and Club Haiti, even the general exchange, the Black student union, was supposed to encompass all of the melanated people on the campus. And then within that, they had the Caribbean. And then within that, Haiti felt the need to have their own, because of whatever viewpoints that they may feel that others, including the Caribbean, plus the larger melanated community, had towards Haiti. And I thought that was strange when I was in school, right? Like, what? Haiti has their just own club, and it was called Club Creole, right? So this stuff it has been present. How much we invested into it or paid attention to it, but it was always something that made me go, hmm. It's not that Haiti was barred from being in the Caribbean Cultural Exchange. And it's not that, or the melanated Caribbean people were barred from being in the larger club. It's where people began to a certain degree feel comfortable or connect with other people who've had their similar experiences. So I found that interesting, and I kind of see that's happening. At the same time, it's not saying that people cannot have their whatever their designations. Now, if someone was to say at that time, hey, you're going to now disparage Club Creole, or you're going to now say that all of these sweeping generalizations against Haitians because they don't want us to be in their club, that's something else. That's why I say on many levels, there's so many different things going on. But for the sake of time, because I came on already earlier, so I'm going to try to reserve my voice here because I get hyped sometimes, you know. All right, let me share my screen. Do, do, do. Oh, do, do, do. All right. All right, boom. Let's see which one we're going to get first. Is this the one I want to get first? No. Let me get this one first. This was CBS. Remember that video that I just saw? He compiled it like what? He put it up yesterday. He might have compiled it this year, right? This is from 2010. This is the thought of they want to be us, they want to fake like they're us, and then jump out and say they're not us. Like, I'm just trying to dispel some of these generalizations so we'll have more information to have these discussions honestly. Caribbeans urged to give census ethnicity. CBS News, February 24th, 2010, from the Associated Press. Now, for the sake of time, I'm not going to read everything, but identify yourself as being of Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish origin on the 2010 U.S. Census questionnaire, and you will get to be more specific about your ancestry, such as Mexican American, Cuban, or Puerto Rican. But check the box for quote unquote Black, African American, or Negro, and there will be no place to show whether you're trace your identity to African continent, a Caribbean island, or pre-Civil War plantation. Okay, melanated people from the Caribbean or the continent did not make the census. Okay, but I'll continue. So in prior times, they were filling in what was given. But then the headline says they're urged to give census ethnicity. Why? Because things are going to change, and I'm going to show you this. This was back in 2010. Some Caribbean American leaders are urging their community to write their nationalities on the line under some other race on the forms arriving in mailboxes next month, along with checking the racial categories they feel identify them best. In another step in the evolution of the census, which has moved well beyond general categories like quote unquote Black and quote unquote white, to allow people to identify themselves as multiracial and in some cases by national origin. And then it goes on. Let me jump down. The campaign in the multi-ethnic Caribbean community reflects a tendency born from multiple waves of migration to establish identity first by country, then by race. We are completely undercounted. This is the contention of the Caribbean community. It doesn't sound like they're looking to steal the identity of melanated people here. The quote is coming from the chairwoman, Felicia Prashad, where she says, we are completely undercounted because there isn't an accurate way of self-identifying for people from the Caribbean. This is what chairman of Carib ID 2010. So this is 9 years ago, before ADOS jumped on the scene to say we need a separate designation. They're on the scene saying we need a way for you to be able to identify that it is us. I find that interesting other side of the coin here. I'm just presenting some of the facts. A New York-based campaign to get a category on the census form for Carib Americans or West Indians. This was 2010. It goes on to say about 2.4% of the US population, more than 6.8 million people, identified on the 2000, that's 19 years ago, census, belonging to two or more races. A little less than 1% of the population, more than 1.8, wrote in their West Indian ancestry. 19 years ago, they wrote it in. other part of the conversation. It says, and about 8, I usually write stuff in, by the way. I write stuff in, okay? Because I'm like, oop, it's not here. I guess I got to write it in. And about 874,000 people, or 0.3% of the population, tick boxes from Native Hawaiian and other Pacific Islanders that year. In 2000, that's 19 years ago. If those islanders could get their own category on the form, Caribbean American leaders say, why not their communities? Their lobbying efforts led to a bill in Congress requiring a box to indicate Caribbean descent on the census form, but it did not pass. So not only did they say we think this should happen, and not only did more than 1.8 million people write it in, they lobbied Congress. Let's tell the fullness of the narrative, and let's not misinform people in general so that we can emotionally manipulate one another. It ain't right. We're really pushing so we can tell our story in numbers the way Latino community has done by getting the origin category on the form. Prashad says, you can read the rest of this article. Okay? Wait. Here, I'll read this little part right here. While most Caribbeans are expected to at least check for the box that quote unquote black, lumping them together with all African Americans means corporations and politicians won't see the political, economic, and social issues specific to their immigrant communities. This sounds totally opposite of what they're being accused of doing. What's going on here? They're saying we want to be seen so that you can identify the issues specific to this community, but we're hearing a lot of information coming out of the ADOS movement, but that's not what they're doing. And this is why we need ADOS, because they're trying to steal our designation. And if the reparations come, wait, check it out. Then this makes the reparations issue a non-issue, because if they're clicking Caribbean, or they click in mainland continent, then there's no need to click ADOS, because by the process of deduction, the only person left is mainland people who, by the way, not all were enslaved. I know people don't like to hear that, but that's another comment for another day. It also goes on to say, they also won't see the sides of those communities or get a sense of diversity of their experiences among Afro-Caribbean groups. I ain't gonna keep reading this because I got more to go. If you would like, it's down in the box. So this was CBS News 2010, and in 2000, 1.8 million people wrote in on the box that wasn't there, and then they proceeded to lobby. So let me close down this one, shall we? Let's go ahead and put that one in the canon. And then we're going to go over to, not you, I think you. Hold on. I think, is this it? Nah. You're not it. You're not it. 20, the census one. Where did it go? Did I click it? Hold on, everybody. Hold on. Census, I don't think I clicked it. Here it is. No, I didn't click that one. I'm missing one. There's something else. Oh, here. This one. Page 12 and page 21. Page 12. I don't like to, like, if you try to jump on everything, then you might not see it. Oh, it's not coming up. Oh, they hating on the kid. Why is it not showing? Hold on, I'm gonna release my screen because I want you to see this. I want you to see this. So hold on, let me release my screen and try to bring it up on something else. Hold up. Open new, copy link. I'm gonna come and read. I like to try to address one thing at a time because this topic, like I said, is very hairy. So I showed you what I was addressing, and then now I'm gonna show you. No, that's not it. Come on, dude. Now I'm gonna show you why I don't necessarily agree with the need to fearmonger that someone else is doing something when it's on record for almost over 20, going on 20 years now that that's not the case. Right? Hold on. How's everybody doing today? Hope you're doing well. I'm just trying to see if this particular link comes up so that you can see it. Do 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 do. Okay, hold on. Do 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 do. Come on. Hold on, y'all. It's loading. This is a 2014 report. So remember that was 2010? So in 2014, something changes. And this report is not coming up. It's a PDF and I don't know why it's not coming up. Let me see if I could pull it up a different way. Hold on. 2014 Census Gov. 1 second, please. Census Gov report. Do. How come? Maybe when I copied it, the link got broken. 2014. Hold on. 2014. If not, I'm gonna keep it moving because essentially what it says on that particular PDF, essentially what it says is that what was essentially propositioned is there now. So on that particular one, I have to go back to see why it's not coming up. But on that particular one, there's now a box where you can underneath the box and it shows you. And I wanted to show you, but it shows you where you can now fill it in. That was 2014, right? So hold on, let me see. Census, here it is. Wait. This was, hold on, I might be able to pull it up. June. 6/10/2014. August 6th, here it is. Okay, it's not coming up. Okay, it's not coming up, so we're not gonna waste no more time. It's on there, but it's not coming up on this particular computer, and I'm not sure why. Yeah, it's not showing. And I tried it in a different thing, but we'll continue for the sake of time. The link is still in the box, so you could click it. And I put the pages that you can read. So essentially it was there. So let's continue. Okay, boom. So here we go. Okay, that's the link right there. You can click it at your own discretion and go to page 12 and then go to page 21. And then now we're going to go to, I already did CBS. I already did. Okay, let me see this one. This one is interesting. You can read it at your own discretion. It's characteristics of selected sub-Saharan African and Caribbean ancestry groups in the United States, 2018 through 2012. And it gives you all these charts that sometimes people read out of context, right? It shows you the population that's reporting on the census. So how can you get this population reporting on the census? You see that earlier on, it was hard to report on the census. And you see as time goes on, you see more people reporting. And you have to also consider how much people are actually taking the census. It talks about immigration patterns for each one of the groups, which is Ethiopian, Nigerians, Haitian, Jamaican, and Trinidad and Tobagoans. And then they go through each and every one. They give you demographics, they give you map, they give you places where many of these people groups congregate and other places where they're not really at. So I found this to be very interesting. It's dated 2012, but it kind of gives you an overview of, the demographics of those who are marrying, the demographics of income per household. Again, that's based on who's participating in this census. And as we just read, in 2010 and even 2000, they were petitioning to be recognized on the census so that you can have accurate data. It goes female marital status, right? So we don't have to say stuff like a whole lot. We can look at some of these things that are the pool of people. Like I said, there was one report, I think it's the one report that was referenced, the color of wealth. And it was talking about, I did the breakdown on the one from Miami, but the one from Boston, like the sample group was like less than 400 people. So when you come out with numbers, I was like, 400 people. When you come out with numbers such as those numbers, whatever the pool is, you have to put that also into consideration. That, yeah, numbers don't lie, but they can be skewed based on what the starting point is, right? All of those things I think is important when we're going to take something and smear it everywhere. It tells you about point of entry, all of that stuff. So this I put there because I find it, for those who are interested in this discussion, that these are some stats, some poverty rate. We have occupation. We have poverty rate. We have earnings, right? Home ownership, all that good, lovely, nice stuff that people are talking about. Okay. Now I'm going to go over to, and that link is in the box. And now we're going to look at, I'm going to play something. I'm going to have to play it from my phone though. So I'm playing this recording here so I can save my little voice. 2020 census will ask, quote, Black people who about their exact origins. So this whole conversation, and this was released last year this time. This is March 13th, 2018. This whole conversation that if we don't separate, if you don't sever, if you don't necessarily attack people, because some of it is straight up attack, then they will steal your rights and your benefits. Meantime, you know what I'm saying? This conversation has been happening. And it's been happening in such a way that many people don't know it's happening and actually give credence to what is being said and the way in which people are going about it. Right? So let me go to this NPR article real quick. And for those who just joined us, feel free to share your thoughts. All I ask is that we be respectful. This is for those who are new to this channel and the discussions that we have. We don't have to agree, but we don't have to be disrespectful. I'm big on being respectful. And if we find that we cannot be respectful, then it may not be the discussion to be had at this time. So that's all I'm going to ask. And I don't use profanity. And I ask that those who are here don't use profanity on the channel. Right? So that's what I'm asking. I haven't read the comments, but I scanned it and I see, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to go back and read it, but I'm asking that we be respectful. So now I'm going to play this from NPR. Hold on. So wait a minute. Oh, here we go. This is 2020 census will ask, quote, Black people about their exact origins. So melanated people from the Caribbean has been asking to acknowledge their origins so that they are not lumped together, so that they can be seen as a people group. We have petitioning and lobbying for this to be the case. And now we have NPR last year saying that this is going to be the case. All while, I'm just going to press play.
Support for this message comes from our 2019 lead sponsor of How I Build This, Hiscox. Hiscox understands every small business is unique and tailors its policies to your business's very specific needs. Get a quote or purchase a policy at hiscox.com. Hiscox, encourage courage. For the 2020 census, the U.S. Census Bureau has changed some of the questions it asks. Among them, how Black people are asked to designate their race. This means many people may have to take a closer look at their family trees to define their ethnic origin. NPR's Hansila Wong has more. On the upcoming census form, you'll likely see a new space under the checkbox for Black or African American. That's where you're supposed to write in non-Hispanic origins, such as African American, Jamaican, Nigerian, or if you're Nia Tamara, Ethiopian.
I'm African, I identify as Black, but I don't see myself as an African American.
So Mara says with this change for the 2020 census, she can be more specific about her Black identity.
We can't just be Black as African Americans. We're Black from Africa, we're Black from the Caribbean, we're Black from everywhere.
The Census Bureau has said it's been trying to respond to calls for, quote, more detailed, disaggregated data for our diverse American experiences. You can hear some of that diversity at African Services Committee.
Hold on, I'm just going to be pausing along the way. So that was a woman from Ethiopia making the same claim that ADOS is making to make a separation, but at the same time, not necessarily disparaging in this particular interview the other person that you're making the separation from, right? So I'll continue.
Tamara works as a legal advocate for immigrants in New York City, and there are so many languages of the African diaspora spoken here.
Soninke, Mandingo, Wolof, what else?
Maluso Pakala, the director of program operations, who is Ethiopian American, needs help naming them.
Malinke, tell me other languages.
Pula, Amharic, French, the common language in the office.
That was Amanda Lugg with the assist. She considers herself Black British, and she's the director of advocacy for people living with HIV at African Services Committee, which offers free health screenings to immigrants. Lugg says more detailed census data about Black people's ancestry could improve her organization's public health work.
This is a great step forward in terms of being able to get more specific information on who's actually living here, yeah.
But Maluso Pakala,
More specific, she's from England. And so she's talking about this is beneficial to get more specific information about who's living here. This is actually already being done. I'll continue.
But Maluso Pakala says here's the rub about the census asking for people's origins. Around the country, there's growing distrust in turning over personal information to the government.
Are people willing to answer that question given the current anti-immigrant sentiment? That I get it.
I mean, literally, this keeps me up at night because it's not just about filling out the census.
This is Christina Greer, a political science professor at Fordham University.
I'm the author of Black Ethnics, Race, Immigration, and the Pursuit of the American Dream.
Greer warns that if fewer Black people participate in the 2020 census, there could be an undercount. And that could have impacts lasting long after 2020 on redistributing seats in Congress and drawing up legislative districts. Still, Greer says she's planning to write down Black American for her origins.
I consider myself a JB, which is just Black. So when people ask you where you're from, and I say, oh, you know, New York, Philly, Chicago, Baltimore, it's like, no, but where are you from?
It's a question, Greer says, that's hard, if not impossible to answer for many African Americans who have roots in the U.S. going back centuries to ancestors forced upon these shores as enslaved people.
If we're really honest with what hundreds of years of U.S. chattel slavery really meant, many people had to walk miles and across countries before they were shipped off.
And that cut ties to home countries for their descendants, including Chris Owens, a project engineer for an energy consulting firm based in New York City.
I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. Either you're Black or you're white, at least where I'm from.
Owens says for most of his life, questions about his race were straightforward. But after moving to Boston and later New York,
I've been asked if I'm Haitian, Jamaican, any Caribbean, just based on how I look. That's even caused me to try to figure out which island I was from.
Owens says just over 2 years to keep digging into family history for an answer before the 2020 census forms come out. For now, though, if you ask him about his origins, he says he's sticking with American. Hansi Luong, NPR News, New York.
Sorry for it, y'all. The baby came knocking at the door and won't tell me why she's knocking at the door. All right. So I stepped away for the last part, but you got the gist of that. That NPR article is also in the box below. Again, to show that this is an ongoing discussion. It's an ongoing discussion. Lastly, there's another article that says the U.S. Census Bureau keeps confusing race and ethnicity. This was last year, February 28th. An NPR article came out the next month, last year. So you can definitely check it out. So this is something that they're saying they're doing. They have been doing. You have people who have been petitioning, and I'm gonna come and read the questions now, who have been petitioning not to steal someone's identity, not to pretend that they are them. So the question, are quote African Caribbean immigrants trying, that's the key word, trying to steal ADOS benefits and identity? And this is not something that somebody's making up. This is something that is being postured. This is a position to say, this is why, again, like I showed you earlier, this is why we can't trust them. This is why they, and I'm like, what's all of that about? Well, can we sit down and get to what this is all about? Okay, here I come. Okay, Empire, Locono Empire. Now, I'm not sure if you're new, so I'm just gonna let you know that some of the things you hear me say are based on some things that I've already said. So if you're not sure about what I'm talking about, all I ask is that you ask respectfully. Okay, that's all. That's all I ask. This is how we keep things respectful, and we can actually have a dialogue. But once we get into the disrespect zone, that's when it becomes something else. Okay. So, what slave was your family members? Were they Indian slaves or African slaves? Again, you're making it personal. Go and study American history throughout the Americas. We do that a lot on the channel. So, welcome to the channel. This is Soul Knowledge. I study a lot about history here. If you go back to some of the videos I did on ADOS alone, there's plenty of history there. Again, I understand people come into the discussion at different points. So it's, you know, if we ask questions, again, respectfully, like we want to know, as opposed to we're going to try to act as though the person doesn't know at all. You will see the only people that have been reclassified so many times are American, Indians, colored, blacks, Afro-Americans. I'm not arguing against this. Okay, let's go. What history do you know? The Civil Rights Act, that Martin Luther King states rights of Indians. All right, I don't know if do you know some of the West Indians were sent to We spoke about that here. Like I said, you maybe know. We spoke about that here. We spoke about that here. That's not that I already addressed earlier on in this discussion the purpose of the video, and I actually showed it. So I'm gonna keep going. You can't separate the Caribbean from New York. The West Indies makes up America as well. Yes, it was called the American Islands at one point. You know, it's part of the colonies. This is what we have shared. Are you ADOS people African or American? Okay, at this point, you in the crowd right now. What in the world? You have no claims to the Americas. I'm sick and tired of Pan-Africans. Huh? Okay, I'm not sure. I don't know if I'm gonna read all of this because I don't know where you're going with all this. You're asking a lot. I don't even say you're asking, you're asserting a lot. You're asserting a lot. I do believe there are serious issues that need to be flushed out with ADOS community. What saddens me is that there are these extremists spewing all this rhetoric. Yes, a great digital cinema. This is extreme stuff that, like I've said, it's a matter of just getting the information like I just did. I gave y'all the links in the box. So when you have the discussion, you could familiarize, because if we don't know, anything sounds good. But and you know, this is the reason why you shouldn't like the people. This is the reason why they're coming for us. Whatever the case may be, when you're like, wait a minute, they've been trying to do that for the longest. Now it's actually on the books. So nobody's coming for, quote, us in that way. You know what I'm saying? So then what is this really about? And where is this talk really coming from? For us to get to the serious issues and real areas of contention. Okay. Lacono is all okay. Oh, you asked me a question, you didn't give me an opportunity to respond. Then you went ahead and started making, yeah, that's what's going on. That's what's going on. There's a lot of assumptions being made, Lacono. Welcome to the discussion. No need to make so many assumptions. This is what we're trying to get away from. All of the assumptions. We try to come with historical receipts so we don't have to make alternative facts up. So for those who have just joined us, welcome to the discussion. I'm not going to stay long today because the other part that I wanted to read didn't want to come up. It was acting a little crazy. But the links are in the box. So to recap, for those who just joined us, the thought that We have to the ADOS community is saying they need their own designation, and people are jealous and hating on them and they're supportive of everyone else and no one is supportive of them. That's not true. Historically, that's not true. Historically, the Caribbean, and we read about the Laura Kofi. We read about her last week, who in the early 1900s came from the continent, came from Ghana, came to America, joined with UNIA. After she left UNIA, she was speaking to thousands of melanated people here on the mainland, encouraging them to return. I don't know if I read or I spoke to you briefly about Haiti. Once Haiti was freed and liberated, okay, IT reached out to mainland continent, paid for their passages to come to Haiti, gave them a level of reparations to begin to farm the land because they had lost a lot of bodies even after the revolution. And we even have Thomas Jefferson, as I read to you the last time. We read Thomas Jefferson in his response to James Madison. Hopefully I'm not mistaking his name, that Haiti or Santo Domingue would be an excellent place or a quote receptacle to send these Negroes, and West Indies, and then he says more preferably Santo Domingo. Okay, and then there's history. I don't think I brought that out yet. That they actually went and they were actually invited and they were actually transported. And what happened was many people from the Americas, thousands, went back, came back to America, bringing a bad report about Haiti. This is facts. There are many people who were petitioning to go because there was many people petitioning to go, and I'm gonna come and bring that just in a whole separate discussion by itself. But in short, there were many people starting to petition to go. There was the only melanated, liberated country in the West, and that it was like the paradise to go to. There were a lot of freedmen in the North. When you look at the population of freedmen, you have to pick a point. Because if you say American descendants of quote unquote slaves, and the person was a freedman, but they endured everything that you endured, then how do you negate their experience? You see what I'm saying? I keep saying it's so hairy because it is. So I'm not going to stay all the way long today. We're going to welcome Locono to the conversation. Again, a lot of this stuff has gone over. So to wrap it up, in this supposed 2020 census, it's supposed to have where you can fill in. Because if you talk about Caribbean, you have Afro-Caribbean, you have Indian Caribbean, you have Asian Caribbean. You know, because after slavery, the same thing they did to a certain degree in America with the swallow migrants, which we spoke about a couple of episodes ago, they did it in the Caribbean. They began to bring in East Indians into the Caribbean. This is how you see a mix of, like in Trinidad and Jamaica and Guyana, when they no longer could get free labor, they got migrant workers to come in. And they brought in a whole, what they call in the Caribbean, coolies, which is a derogatory term. Okay, but they brought in East Indians into the Caribbean, and then you had Asians yes, we spoke about that. Or you have Chinese as well who came in as merchants, and they're still there today. Judy says, "Have you heard of the Americans, Moruga, Trinidad?" Yes, we did a show on Americans. Let me see what show it is. They are enslaved people who refer to the second stanza of the United States anthem. They were given their freedom and 17 acres of land. Thank you so much, Judy, for sharing that. We shared that one. When do we share that one? And the purpose of sharing those things was to show that this thought of, because I was addressing at that point, you didn't die and bleed and bones are not buried in America. And I'm like, well, that's not true. And as you stated, the Americans, they were black, what do they call it again? Loyalists who were fighting, if I'm not mistaken, for the Revolutionary War, if I'm not mistaken. And they ended up going to the colonies that the Europeans still had control over, and they took them to Trinidad, and their names were still Americans. So she brought it up as well. So that's history. You can definitely look it up. I'm trying to see when we went over that one. So this is what it's about. It's about sharing. It's about sharing accurate information. I'm gonna drop the link in the box. Oh, here it is. The free American slaves who went to live in Trinidad. ADOS homework. Hold on, let me give it to you. Hold on. So we did that one on here as well to show that you may say, oh, they're coming from the islands and they're just coming to steal our benefits, not knowing that they fought for liberation. Not knowing that they fought for liberation. And so I'm going to come, that's one of the things that we did. So I'm going to come and talk about this next thought process that I saw in another one of his videos, which is this conversation about education and access to these Ivy League schools, and how the melanated people in the Ivy League schools are not representing those who were subjugated and oppressed here in this particular diaspora, right? And so that's another discussion, but I'm not going to stay long. Any more questions or comments before we go? And thank you for that, Judy. Yes, we spoke about it. There's much more to learn. If you're in Trinidad, if you're a descendant of one, we'd love to hear your story. Because now it goes from taking it off the books to actually seeing the living, breathing people who are still alive and hear the stories and the oral traditions that they have passed down and the experiences, to see that, to begin to dispel some of these alternative facts, man. Dispel some of these alternative facts. So if we have any more questions or comments, feel free to share. If not, them people, when did I mention that I was a slave? Them people were all foreigners. Do you know they invented them in 1800 due to the Arabs mislabeled Maroons and Karens didn't want to work on their own land? They was a slave. Huh? Who is a foreigner? I'm not going. I think this is a rabbit hole, y'all. Who is a foreigner? Maybe we'll come back. I'm not going down the rabbit hole today, man. I'm not going down the rabbit hole. Because there's many rabbit holes in this discussion. I found myself tumbled down, just asked a simple question and I found myself down here like, ooh, there's some interesting stuff down here. But yeah. All right. All right, then, digital, for real. I'll keep doing what I do. We want all foreigners of the lands of the Americas. Oh gosh, these Chinese Okay, I'm not sure which questions you're answering. But there's a lot of, like, again, there's a lot of history. Understand, and I'll leave you at this. I'll leave it with this. As I was thinking about this, this is a tough discussion. Here is why. These are stolen lands. Number one. So blood, sweat, and toil. You have those who were indigenous to this land looking like, okay, these are stolen lands. So the powers that be took stolen people to build upon stolen lands and then displaced the people who were on the lands, right? Which to a certain degree makes stolen people accessories to the crime. Like, this thing is deep, man. So some of the positions that some people are taking, if you just back up 2 more steps from the conversation, it's like someone displaced you from your home, stole it, then used stolen labor or stolen resources to build it, and then the real landowner is pushed off somewhere, and then they begin arguing about the stolen land and the stolen people and the rights to the lands and the people. And this is when we put it, because this is spiritual context, emotional, mental, physical, intellectual, all of these things are layered on what we're talking about and what we're looking at. And that's part of what we're looking at, that these particular lands, we're talking about a displaced people. You took a person from one continent and put them on an entirely different continent. And now the people, because they have been disconnected from their origin, are looking for a place to kind of say, this is mine. You know what I mean? So there's a lot, and it's not like you came from up the street. It's like you came from across the other side of the world. So I understand it's not an easy topic, but at the same token, it doesn't give us license to kind of write history to prove our point. You know what I mean? Hopefully we'll be ready to just look at it all for what it is and then honestly move forward from it. All right. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Feel free to check the links out in the box. Leave your comments below. I did have some comments on the other videos. And if you're out there and you can help me with this stay on code discussion and these references to the way in which you treat someone if they're not on code, I'm trying to really understand, is reviewing history not on code? Like, I'm trying to understand what part is the code. Is truth the code? Is an ahistorical perspective the code? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the code? Because I keep hearing stay on code. Who made the code up? And are you asking people who or people groups who one may be, okay, you've been wronged. And then so now you're going to turn and wrong someone else or oppress someone else and then subjugate that person or that people group to agree with you. And if not, they have become your enemy. We have to be careful of some of these tools that we're using to achieve our ends, right? The ends justify the means kind of thing. Does it? We have to look at the tools that we're using, the mechanism, tactics, the you know, things that we're saying and the stuff that we're putting out there in the atmosphere, in the universe. Because I just found that really, I had to ask questions. So if you're out there and you're listening, and if you're one of the ones who says this often, and do you know what it means? Can you articulate it? Can we get a little bit of understanding of what this means to stay on code? What is the code? Who established the code? And does the code, include misrepresentation of whole other people groups? With that said, like I said, I'm not going to stay long. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And we'll talk again. Hold on, where did it go? We'll talk again later. Digital says, can you slide me a copy of the code? Thank you, Judy. Welcome. Yeah, I'm waiting. I'm trying to see what the code, you know what I'm saying? You got the 10-point code. I need the code. I need to look over the code, maybe preferably PDF form. You know what I'm saying? I need to know, what does it mean to follow? What does it mean not to follow? Loco says, yes, truth is the code. First of all, look up your ancestors, trace your family, not a DNA test. Real life Africans don't take DNA tests. Go to the National Archives. Thank you, Loco. I could read that because I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I don't do the DNA test thingy. Just, you know what I mean? That's another question for another day. But yeah, I would say look up your ancestors, look up your records. That's what I'm saying. Do the footwork. Go to National Archives, go to the location, ask the oldest person alive, go to the birth records, go to the funeral, not the funeral records, but the grave site records, all of that to kind of understand and get a lineage and go back as far as you can go back. One of the issues and things that some people may run into is that some family members have died off and some are not necessarily willing to tell. You know what I mean? Some are not willing to tell, especially if you had some mystery surrounding your birth. You know what I mean? If you had some controversy surrounding your birth, like it is the case in many places in slavery, when there's controversy, the father's not on the birth certificate is not new. It's coming a lot from that space and time where you couldn't say, even if you did know who the father was, if he wasn't approved. So again, that's another thing to talk about another day. All right. Much love to everybody. Thank everybody for tuning in. We'll talk again later. Make sure you click the links in the box, y'all, and read it thoroughly. Read it thoroughly so we can continue this discussion. All right, one.